Hello people, welcome back to my channel The Nature and the Wild. So today we are going to discuss some very important topics in terms of wildlife photography. Wildlife photography is very fascinating hobby nowadays among the people, and many people, especially the people who bought their gears and started learning the wildlife photography, curious to know how to improve themselves. So the first thing first for the beginner photographers, if you already bought a gear, you must understand your gear's technology. So nowadays we have different kind of cameras, like we have mirrorless camera, we have DSLR cameras, which are the little bit old school, but there are different companies like Canon and Nikon. They are still building up a couple of very nice DSLR cameras. And then it comes to the newest technology where we talk about the mirrorless, and in that series we have Nikon G series, Sony Alpha, and then Canon R series, and those cameras are really outperforming into the wild. They have better technologies, better tracking, better autofocus systems. So before you buy your gear, and please do some research what kind of photography you want to be in, and according to that genre you can buy your gears. Second thing, after the camera, we must understand what kind of lenses we should use. Some people does portrait photography, street photography, and some of us does the wildlife photography. So every genre has its own need according to the lenses. So you can use either a prime lens with a high aperture number 1.8, and that give you very nice blurry and bokeh effect and give your subject isolated look, and it can separate your subject from the background and you can get very nice portrait images. But what about if we are doing the sports photography or wildlife photography? In that conditions you cannot go near to the subject, and then you must look out for the reach, and in that condition you got to use a couple of telephoto zoom lenses. Of course, in this category, telephoto lens category, you also have prime lenses which have a fixed focal length. So let's say a 200 mm f4 prime lens can only be extended with a fixed focal length of 200 mm. You cannot change its aperture also. So if you have a zoom lens, which normally very useful in the wildlife photography, you can have a variable range from 100 to 500. Let's say Canon RF 100 to 500, and it gives you 7.1 as the aperture. Lens will have various focal length and you can use them. So these are very important things when you buy your gear. You really need to understand, rather than wasting your money, what kind of photography you're gonna do. The next thing is very important to understand the setups of your camera. On your camera you can have you need to really understand how the exposure triangle is working to achieve a very nice picture. If your picture is, you click a picture and then you saw your picture is too dark and it's not sharp enough, then what can be the cause, how we can light up the picture and make it more clear. Also, the sharp images are the most important thing. So in that terms, we must understand our exposure triangle, which consists of ISO, shutter speed, and the aperture. So if you have a very fast moving object, you want to freeze that object and you need to catch a very nice image, then you need to turn on your shutter speed. So as much as you turn up your shutter speed, your image will be get steady and freezed. And if you lower the shutter speed, when the subjects move, it will be blurry. But some cases we use that kind of shutter speeds, like light trail or Milky Way, and or very low light situations where you can handheld your camera very nicely. But in the wildlife photography or sports photography, most of the subjects are moving so fast and very dynamic and unpredictable. In that situation, you must use a higher shutter speed so that your image can be stable. So when you set up your shutter speed, then you must look out your aperture. So most of the time what we do, we shoot on a wide aperture to get more light into the camera, right? So if your aperture is wider, then you get more depth of field, okay, and in that situation your subject will be isolated from the background will be nice and blurry. But on that context, I also need to tell you, it also depends how far your background is from the subject. If your background is very close to the subject, you will never get a nice unblurry effect. So always keep in mind, to get the nice effect, your subject must be separated from the background, and there has to be a good distance between them. Then once you set up your aperture, your shutter speed, and you take the picture and the picture is still dark and little bit, so you know that your picture is dark and it needs little bit more light, what you're gonna do? You're going to work with your ISO. So ISO makes sure that your picture is darker or lighter or more brighter. So you put your camera ISO from a range of 100 to 64, 3200, and then you take the picture and see the picture is very nice and it's quite good, and it's brighten up. So you really need to go out, play with these three settings to understand, and there is no cheat sheet to give you on that, what kind of ISO, what kind of shutter speed, or what kind of aperture you should use, but that only comes according to the atmosphere around you. So in the wildlife photography, we most of the time we shoot early in the morning or sometime in the evening when the lighting conditions are not good. So in that situations, what we do, we judge the atmosphere according to the subjects, its velocity, its a speed. We change our shutter speed, and we also change our ISO. So most of the new age cameras, mirrorless cameras, are very well crafted that they can handle very high ISO. So don't worry about it, just go out and practice with different scenarios, and then you will, over the time, you will gradually understand the proper settings, and it won't take much time to get it done. To get the very nice and sharp images, you must understand these three pillars. When you took your camera in your hand and you see, okay, I set up my camera, I set up everything, and now what kind of autofocus system we should use? Your camera always have a manual and automatic focus system. So put your camera on the autofocus and select a spot autofocus pointer, so that will be always use, point your camera to the subject, press your shutter button, bang on, the camera is on the target and is focused. There is another video where I discuss the all kind of autofocus system, set up your camera from the scratch. You can have a look in that, and that will be really give you nice internal view where you understand which autofocus system to use, what kind of scenarios. Then turn on your eye tracking on and put the eye tracking on the animal, so your camera know what kind of subject you are tracking, and then happy clicking. And always try to shoot in the raw. So raw files will give you more control over your image, to play with the brighter side, brightness, contrast, highlights, to make it more nicer during the post processing. So these things really important as a beginner photographer. The bonus point, when we do the photography, sometimes we also make videos, and that is very important on your camera. Please set up your camera, if it support the new age mirrorless cameras, 4K fine mode or 8K mode. Some of the cameras have from the Sony's. So put your camera on the highest available quality, 4K fine mode, 25 frame per second, or 30 frame or 60 frame per second. That is very optimal for your video optimizations. And keep your camera's video in the C-Log or any other raw format, which can give you more control over the video in the post processing. You can edit each and every option in that, and that will give you a cinematics look to your videos. Before you invest in your expensive gears, what kind of camera, what kind of lens, according to your photo genres, understand your exposure, understand your camera setup, set up it properly, and happy clicking. So guys, thanks a lot for staying with me. Please like and subscribe my channel, The Nature and the Wild, and put your questions in the comment box. I will get back to you, and take care. Thank you.